Good afternoon. This is Dr. Chuck from North Coast Family Foundation, and my brother and partner Mike, Dr. Mike, is off today. And so we're going to talk today about using timeout to control escalation during marital conflict. But I have to tell you, I just got back from the Apostolic Christian Church Missionary Conference held in the Mennonite Church, Mennonite University in Virginia. And I had a fabulous time there. It was so much fun to be there. I had a great audience. I was asked to present on forgiveness and anger, two topics that are timely and very important. But the main thing is just connecting with missionaries and people who support missionaries all around the world. And we just had a great time of fellowship and encouragement and laughing and eating and just having a great time. I connected with some of my buddies from Brazil. That was fun, and made a lot of new friends. So God bless those folks down there. I'll tell you, if you're not involved with missions at your church or some parachurch organization, I'd really encourage you to open up your heart, open up your mind, and sometimes open up your wallet. And just take a look at missions, because it's alive. There are couples there that one couple is starting a food pantry. Another couple is in Syracuse. They are starting a horse ministry, equine ministry for troubled teens. And they're going to pair a horse with a volunteer with a troubled teen, because some kids just really connect very well with horses, or in other ministries with animals. But in this case, it's going to be horses. Anyway, whatever ministry it is, if you're not involved, I really suggest that you take a look at that, open up your heart, pray, and see how the Lord leads you. So God bless that organization. They're doing a fabulous job with these missionaries. Okay, so a topic for the day: controlling escalation. Now, Mike and I wrote a book a few years ago called, we entitled it "Thriving Despite a Difficult Marriage." And after we published that book, we were on Focus on the Family. That was a great experience discussing that book with Dr. Julie Slattery. And we thought, every marriage is difficult. I mean, that's just the nature of marriage, and some marriages are more difficult than others, but every marriage has conflict. Let's be real here. And not every marriage has awful destructive conflict, but that just two people living together, there's going to be conflict. Now, sometimes it can be heated when we're talking about important things and we don't agree, and we have to make a decision, and how do you navigate through that? So I'm going to give you an idea of something, and I promise you it works. It really does work. So here's the analogy. Now, I live in Cleveland. In the past 4 years, we've enjoyed LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers win a lot of basketball games. Now, things are going to change very substantially, but it's been a good ride here these last 4 years. So let's suppose we're watching a basketball game. Now, there's other sports, but basketball is the best analogy or best metaphor. So Cleveland is playing a team, and Cleveland is doing very, very well. They're just scoring baskets and just they're running up the score, and the other team is overwhelmed. And what does the other coach do? At some point, he does this. He makes this sign. He calls a timeout, and he goes to the referee. The referee spots it, and the referee blows his whistle, calls a timeout, points to the bench, and they take a timeout. And one team goes over there, the other team goes over there, and they sit down, they have some Gatorade, they wipe off their face, they listen to their coach exhort them. Sometimes they don't do anything except sit there, but most of the time they're talking, trying to come up with some sort of strategy. And after a couple of minutes, they get up and resume the game. That's exactly how it works in a timeout during marital conflict, with a couple of changes, but that's basically the idea. So let me ask you, when the Cavaliers are doing really well and the other team calls a timeout, you'll notice that the coach of the Cavaliers, who is very happy that the team is running up the score, doesn't get angry, doesn't get upset, and doesn't say things like, "Hey, you can't do that." Why not? Because before the game started, both coaches and all the players signed off on the rules. And the rule in basketball is either coach can call a timeout whenever they want, and they don't need a reason. They just call a timeout. And that's how it works in marriage, in the model that I'm giving you. Either spouse can call a timeout, and they don't have to give a reason. Now, that's important, because sometimes when people call a timeout, they feel like, oh, I have to have this really good reason. And no, you don't need a reason. The reason is to keep the marriage intact. The reason is to keep your relationship intact and not do a lot of damage. But you don't have to give any reason. Now, this is really important. Make sure that you note this, okay? So the way it works in marriage is either spouse can call a timeout and the other spouse immediately complies, just like in the game of basketball. And you go to your separate corners. Now, you'll notice in basketball, sometimes as the players are going to their respective places, their respective benches, they sort of bump into each other, accidentally, of course. Well, it's no accident. They're angry, they're hot, it's a competition, and they sort of bump into each other as a way of saying, look out. Well, this is not good. And the referees, of course, are very in tune with this. And if you watch these games closely, as I do, college or pro, the referees are right there, and they get right in between the two of them. Nope, we're not going to have any of this nonsense. You go over here, and we're done. And in marriage, that's probably not going to be a problem for very many of you, but it might be. But it is important for the two of you to get away from each other. So, husband, you go down the basement or out in the garage. Wife, you go in the family room or the bedroom, or get away from each other. Because just the proximity can be troublesome. I mean, again, let's be real. The proximity of the two of you with each other can be troublesome. So the idea is to cool off, just like in basketball. The idea is to cool off, regroup, get yourself together, and come out. And if you're the other team playing the Cavaliers, you hope that things have calmed down a little bit. And, of course, the Cavaliers hope to keep the momentum going. And in marriage,